Hi, this is Bill Hader.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Bill Hader.
Welcome back to another fine episode of We Heart Hater. I am Dee, parent, not a boy-in girl.
And I'm your steroid-powered co-host no one likes, Dr. Uncle Casey.
Episode 38. This is our combo plate. As we mentioned, viewing the Elliot Page episode, there's not a lot there, but Amy Adams episode, that one really had a lot of good Bill stuff there.
We're going to start with the one sketch that Bill was in the Elliot Page episode. This sketch, in the end of such a strange and off-puttingly odd episode, reminds me of why I agreed to do a Bill Hader themed podcast. It is the only sketch he's in the Elliot Page episode.
And now, the continuing adventures of Peter Pan. Chapter 26, Hook's Revenge.
Where Bill plays a frustrated Captain Hook who holds an ongoing meeting with his crew of adult male pirates, played by Fred Armisen, Will Forte, Kenan Thompson, Jason Sudeikis, just wondering aloud.
They're literally a group of children. They're 10, 11 years old, tops. Their swords are made out of wood. You're professional pirates with guns.
Why don't we simply shoot Peter Pan, played by Elliot Page, and his crew of lost boys? And this gave me my biggest laughs out of this episode. I think Bill did a great job of anchoring this. I like how he played Captain Hook in much the same regular put-up-on guy type mode that he played Frankenstein in the previous season's Hugh Laurie episode. I mean, on the one hand, it is the same basic joke as the 300 sketch from Peyton Manning's episode the year before this. But it's also kind of the same jokes as the West Side Story and Evita sketches with Norm Macdonald from season 22. But the writers added more to it than that. What they added was that Captain Hook's crew just gets too into Peter Pan and his Lost Boys song and dance routine to actually shoot him. Captain Hook gives Fred Armisen his Redbeard clear directions on...
Hey, Redbeard.
Yes, Captain.
Hey, I want you to stand right here, okay? Okay, your finger on the trigger. If Peter Pan comes back, I want you to shoot him in the head, okay?
Okay, what if I don't have a clear shot?
Look, he always goes to the same spot, right?
Right.
For his dances.
Right.
So I want you to stand right here, point blank, pow, okay?
Right. Aye, Captain.
Good.
He only waits until Peter Pan has flown out of frame to fire one single flare at that spot, which was just a fun, goofy visual gag. Biggest laugh was Captain Hook just asking everyone to grade themselves.
Smee, how do you think you did?
C minus.
Redbeard, what about you?
I'm going to say B+.
B plus? Seriously?
We only knew he was going to steal the treasure. We had no idea.
Oh, good point. Except we did know because he sang about it.
I like how enthusiastically dialed in Elliot was, contrasted with how enthusiastically detached Jason was, just announcing that, oh, they're coming back on the ship, and they both really threw themselves into their performances. It then got to the point where the rest of the pirates just joined in the song and dance once Amy Poehler floated in as Tinker Bell, at which point Captain Hook just threw Tink on the ground and stomped her to death. And I also like the semi-interactive way that Peter Pan just asked the audience to clap along to bring Tinkerbell back to life. Captain Hook's like, no, why are we doing this? Okay, I'm out. And just walks off. And another little thing that just tickles me personally about this sketch is it aired when I was in high school and was really starting to get into my Weird Al Yankovic phase. So with the hair and makeup, Bill is kind of rocking a similar look that Al did on the cover of his Straight Outta Linwood album. It's the Peter Pan sketch. Deej, anything to add?
Oh, hell yes, because this is among my top 10 Bill Hader sketches of all time. First, he makes a pretty darn dashing Captain Hook. It's a visual delight. There's a little bit of his Vincent Price sneaking in as well. It's the same sort of concept where everyone else is idiots and he's just trying to keep things together. And it's the classic Scott Evil in Austin Powers. Say, why don't you just shoot him? But then again, what would happen is there would be no story. But is a valid point. You don't need to go through all these things of sharks with lasers on their heads kind of thing. Everyone's performances were awesome in this. Continued exasperation.
People, we're pirates, okay? Murderers? Is everybody clear on that? Aye! Okay then, no more mistakes. Your luck's run out, blah, 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 blah.
They did take some elements from the musical of Peter Pan because it is traditionally played by a female, which Elliot was at this time. Also, the part about clapping to bring Tinkerbell back to life, that is also from the musical. They were really good at getting Elliot swung in and out relatively safely. This is one, if it happens across my daily feed and YouTube, I will stop and watch it because it is the big funny from that episode.
Okay, so next we're going to move on to the Amy Adams episode, and we're going to talk about post-monologue sketch. Speaking of post-monologue, for a little bit of context, for the episode this is from, follows Amy Adams' monologue, where she just mentions that everyone's discovered that she and Kristen Wiig kind of look like each other. That's the whole premise of this monologue. And then from there, they go into singing the song, What Is This Feeling from Wicked? And it's just about how much they loathe each other. Borrowed a song from a popular musical, not even writing their own song. And it's just me, really. I have this thing against SNL doing sketches based on how much the host looks like a cast member, because whenever they try to hang a big old lampshade on this, it makes me see less of a resemblance. Pete Davidson, when Rami Malek hosted, and even their impressions of each other weren't that great. Someone said that Rami Malek way overshot Pete Davidson and accidentally ended up doing a perfect Aaron Paul. And then recently, the Will Ferrell monologue with Chad Smith from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, because from the beginning I can immediately tell, okay, that's not Will Ferrell, but I can't tell who that is yet. And then when Will said it was Chad Smith, I was like, oh, why was that not my first guess as to who that was? That's a me thing. While I was a little bit bothered that they would just lead off the show with 2 segments in a row based on how Amy Adams and Kristen Wiig kind of look alike. They could pass for sisters look alike, but not identical twins. I don't like that they put these two together, but I do like how this sketch semi-subverts your expectations for what it's going to be. It's an ABC family sitcom, and I like Paula Pell as the announcer who had the opening line.
You're watching ABC Family. Because sometimes regular ABC is just a little too in your face.
It's an ABC family show called Mirror Image.
They were 2 identical twins and they decided to pull a trick. They pretended to be the same person and only did half the work. Their plan was working perfectly. No one suspected a thing. But then they got to high school. One of them got
so they would only have to do half the work in school. So then we see their first day at a new school where they try to pull this trick on Bill as their newest teacher. Mr. Heffernan, Amy Adams runs to the bathroom, and then Kristen Wiig comes back with the book report. And somehow Kristen's voice and line delivery were the funniest thing about this.
Hey, sorry I took so long in the bathroom. I had to pee so much, the whole bowl overflowed. Here's my report.
Excuse me, who are you and what are you doing here?
And it probably helps that this isn't one of those types of characters that Kristen would play all the time. But it kind of bugged me that Amy Adams would wink into the camera, but then Kristen would try to wink and then fart. Bill did solid straight man work in this. I especially liked his lines where he just straight up figured out their plan.
Hey, just hold on a second. Are you two trying to pass yourselves off as one person so you only have to do half the work?
Yes,
Mr. Havermash. It's Heffernan.
Hammerman.
Heffernan.
Whatever.
Has this ever worked? No, we just keep switching and changing to a new school every day. When Amy Adams came back, he was like, there's this weirdo roaming the halls pretending to be you. And then she says, I think you just saw me from a different angle. He's like, no, this is definitely a different person than you, who was noticeably fatter and less charming. And based on how she mispronounced the name of what this class is about,
Rainy Sounds Panto.
I think she may have been functionally illiterate. Not only is Kristen Wiig heavier than Amy Adams in this, but just much more crass and slovenly in general. He asked which one of you is the real Haley Winters. I guess you'll never know. Well, you do know, because
It's not me. My name's Hagley.
and it also kind of bothered me. Why was Andy Samberg in this with no lines as like a glorified extra? Except his only thing was just to react in disgust when Kristen's character mentioned that Bill's teacher wasn't failing at getting her private sweaty, but I think that's all I have to say about Mirror Image.
Well, I love Bill as a teacher because, yes, he did miss a career in male modeling because, you know, my deep attraction to Bill Hader. One of the great things about him is he can play straight man, he can do the comedy role, he can do it all. This is parody very much in the tradition of the original Identical Twins show.
Was it the Patty Duke show? Because this reminded me of that, even from the theme song.
Things like the Patty Duke show, also a little bit of Parent Trap. Twins passing off on each other is a pretty common show. And they do the one bit where they're just running around in circles with each other, trying to mix them up. And of course, we know it doesn't work. The notion of them having to change schools every day seems a bit exhausting. Is it the best sketch ever? No. But you get to look at Bill and see Bill react, because we know he's a great reactor. There are some funny bits and bobs here, but it was pleasant, but not like the best sketch ever.
Next sketch is one that Bill's in with Amy Adams, but it's one that's kind of tricky to talk about in 2026. It's called Fierce, the Hot Mess Makeover Show. It's a big old parody of the Project Runway extended universe, as I've dubbed it just now. So it's an Amy Poehler showcase. Plays Christian Siriano, who at that time had won the latest season of Project Runway, and now he has his own reality makeover show. He goes through people's wardrobes and labels their clothes as tranny, fierce, hot mess, or some even stranger combination of those three terms.
Tranny, fierce, tranny, hot mess. Cute tranny, hot mess. Tranny, fierce, no way, no, fierce, no hot mess.
Casey Wilson's here is befuddled makeover E, who's just there, oh, what? I don't understand this show. Are you calling me a transvestite or transsexual? And we also get Bill and Amy Adams as other Project Runway alum. Bill is Tim Gunn.
That's a lot of look.
Tim Gunn.
This worries me. Don't bore Nina. Make it work.
No, you make it work, Silver Tranny Ferocia.
We're gonna have to go through your underwear drawer.
I thought you were gonna redo my bedroom.
Amy Adams is Heidi Klum.
I'm sorry, Stephanie. You're out. Auf Wiedersehen. Oh.
But I live here.
I'm so sorry. You're out.
Can I come back?
No, you're out. You cannot come in. You have to stay out. You cannot come in or out.
I do not understand this show.
Oh, auf Wiedersehen.
I've never watched a single episode of Project Runway in my life. Do you vaguely remember that it was just omnipresent enough in pop culture from, I want to say, 05 to 08, that I at least knew who Tim Gunn and Heidi Klum were? Like, a lot of people knew Heidi Klum as a model before this, but I at least knew who Tim Gunn was through like a mix of parodies like this one. Michael McDonald played him on Mad TV. And also, Krista Flanagan played a Heidi Klum that was always screaming at you. You know, sometimes they'd show up as themselves in commercials or other things. But the only reason I know who Christian Siriano was from Amy's portrayal of him, and I was a bit surprised to later learn that he was a him, because, again, I've only seen Amy's impression of this man. Amy's Heidi Klum was very cute, and Bill Hader as Tim Gunn was a fun part of this that I wish they'd given us more of. Poehler's performance was endearing and accessible in a way that only she could pull off. Be warned that this is a sketch from 2008 where it was totally cool to just throw the word tranny out there a lot.
I did watch Project Runway, and I am actually a fan of Christian Siriano. He's still doing fashion. There is a SNL connection with Christian Siriano later on. 2016, for the Ghostbusters premiere, Leslie Jones had tweeted that she couldn't find a designer willing to make a dress for the red carpet. Christian stepped up and made a gorgeous red dress for her for the premiere, and she's been a fan of his and friend of his ever since. As for the use of the word tranny, that was part of the vernacular at the time in gay culture. She captured his energy, how it is like, absolutely perfectly. So very much a great showcase for Amy. The appearance of Tim Gunn just makes so much sense. He's doing that thing with his left hand again where it's crunched together and bent over, but for how Tim Gunn that actually works for it. And he has the vocal inflection of them down, and it comes down to just getting the show down to a whole series of catchphrases. A later sketch on SNL, written by John Mulaney, where they did a Real Housewives type show, but just the intros. If there's one thing that SNL knows about, it's cashing in on a catchphrase. I love Casey Wilson. She's one of my most underrated SNL cast members of all time. After SNL, she did give us a great performance in the show Happy Endings. One door closes, another door opens. And she plays the straight person perfectly. This was actually a pretty good episode for her. So they're slowly finding ways to use her properly.
Next, we're moving on to the traffic school sketch, where it's another sketch where Kristen Wiig plays Penelope, and she is at traffic school with Bill and Keenan and Casey Wilson, and Amy Adams is a teacher, and she annoys everyone there by one-upping them. One of Kristen's characters I've never really been that big on during her tenure in this, and it was pretty formulaic by this point. This had to have been at least the fourth one, and I know this is at least the second one we've talked about in this podcast, because they did this in the season premiere with LeBron James. I did like Bill and Kristen's brief back and forth about their insurance rates going up, and I like the way Amy Adams imitated Penelope at the end, which I think was a new thing they were putting these sketches.
Well, actually, the end of that is pretty typical for the formula of the sketch. SNL is built on formula. I remember a story Bill told of one time where they wanted to do a kissing family sketch, but they wanted to set it in an airport. It's like, why change it? Keep it where it is, because that's what people are familiar with. On that regard, it does actually work. As mentioned before, Bill is an awesome reactor. He plays the same sort of role with the lady who likes surprises. I do prefer Penelope over the Target lady. She keeps interrupting, trying to one-up everybody. Whoever's in charge of the thing imitates her, and then she has one last thing that she says, but everything in that last statement is actually true. Especially that one where Liza Minnelli showed up. You can see where a lot of people won't necessarily like this character. I didn't mind it, and, anytime I can see Bill react to stuff, I'm always going to be happy.
Next is one of two sketches from this episode that I'm pretty excited to talk about. It's one of the odd, patented, bizarre Will Forte sketches we were getting quite a bit of in 2008, and I've always remembered this fondly as one of my favorites, and I'm glad to see it still holds up. It's Dr. Uncle Jimmy's Smokehouse and Outpatient Surgical Facility, where Will Forte plays Dr. Uncle Jimmy, advertising his own authentic, down-home, Deep South barbecue restaurant just off Route 13 in Jasper, Arkansas, where he and his staff serve down-home old-fashioned barbecue and also perform medical procedures. And it was one of those sketches that was packed with so many odd writerly details. There's almost too many to list individually. Dr. Uncle Jimmy says,
"Since early 2006, 2007, then stopping in mid-2007, then resuming in early 2008. We served up the tastiest wings and the fastest colonoscopies this side of Jasper, Arkansas.
And he spent his entire life perfecting his own special barbecue sauce. And he also spent nearly 3 semesters at a once-accredited medical college in the Caribbean learning what were then considered modern medical procedures. And I do like, and normally, you know, fake bad reviews in an SNL commercial sketch is kind of a cheap crutch, but I think they really work here because of the out-of-contextness of them. So he gives us these reviews.
We won official applicant at the 2007 St. Louis Cookout, and our attempt at the most hernia repairs in 24 hours has drawn the attention of the Guinness Book of World Records as well as the Arkansas State Medical Review Board. They're performing surgery at a barbecue restaurant, reads the Jasper City Police report.
Some real customer testimonials from Bill and Keenan. I think Bill has the line that seals this sketch for me.
I mean, sure you could find better barbecue or a safer surgical experience.
Keenan says this place is like a down-home cookout at one of those dead bodies exhibits. And Bill says, I mean, sure you could find better barbecue or a safer surgical experience. Followed by a long pause, and then back to Will Forte, who brings out a celebrity endorsement from Grey's Anatomy star Ellen Pompeo, played by Amy Adams, who was tricked into doing this because Dr. Uncle Jimmy told her this was a charity benefit for MS, which is technically true if by MS you mean multiple sauces. And she says, my God, how could the government let something like this happen? We see Jason as a patient and Andy as a surgeon eating ribs. And Jason says, hey, I hope those aren't my ribs. And they just laugh, but Andy shrugs. Dr. Uncle Jimmy says the house rule is, remember, if it's in a bag, it's blood, unless it's one of our patented barbecue based in sauce bags. He briefly mixes those up and puts the wrong one on the IV until Andy has to correct him. Possibly one of 2 high points of this episode. Deej, you got anything to add?
Definite divine weirdness that only Will Forte can bring us. The delivery of that one line of Bill's is perfection. The fake reviews, if you've watched Schitt's Creek, was the episode when they're doing a production of Cabaret. Alexis, the sister, comes into audition.
I have chosen to perform the title track off of my critically reviewed limited reality series, A Little Bit Alexis.
So it's like you're not really saying anything excessive, but yeah, it was reviewed, but we're not going into how bad it was or how good it was. Will, kind of like a more lively guy from Potato Chip, did enjoy the twist on Ellen Pompeo being tricked into doing a commercial. Although the one comment about how could this happen, well, the American healthcare system, and somehow it wouldn't really surprise me too much, especially these days. So, but otherwise, yeah, I did enjoy that quite a bit.
Next, we get a sketch called Roger Clemens Presents, where Jason Sudeikis plays Red Sox pitcher Roger Clemens. And we get this sketch here because really 2005 to 2008 would have been peak times for steroids in baseball to be major news headlines thanks to congressional investigations and testimonials. So our government was taking steroids in baseball really seriously. As Jason references in this sketch, Roger Clemens was the subject of a perjury probe involving both the FBI and IRS, and it's given a major red ass. So he decided to write his first ever 3-act play about the dangers of taking steroids out of baseball. It's called
Guess what, dingbats? Steroids are good for baseball.
We see Bill as Skip, the manager of a fake baseball team, who's telling Daryl Hammond as a reporter that
I feel great. We got young pitching, a deep bench, and we got Mulgrew.
What about Matt Mulgrew? Your slugger's been tied to steroids in the past.
Don't worry about Matt Mulgrew.
this sketch was previously cut from Elliot Page's episode. Amy Adams is Matt Mulgrew, and Amy Poehler is Salazar, the second baseman. The star players who have gotten off the juice recently and become so scrawny and weak, just like those stats geeks that no one likes, that they can't even hold a bat without falling over. As we see in Act 2, is Bill as a manager trying to convince to get back on steroids. And she didn't oversell it or go too broad. Kind of helps this sketch because I could see Elliot Page doing this. Skip, the manager, tells Mulgrew,
I really need power from you this year. Steroid power.
Mulgrew doesn't get back on the steroids. In fact, he's still so scrawny and weak that he can't even hit a home run to save a dying boy in a hospital, played by Andy Samberg. So he ends up just walking to second and then got off on a pitching error. Samberg dies, and Forte is a doctor, a real doctor, a more real doctor than Dr. Uncle Jimmy. Samberg's character has...
This boy died of a broken heart because baseball sucks now because of stats geeks no one likes.
Sudeikis as Clemens was a great anchor tying this sketch together, and just the big laugh getter with his big fake muscles and out of nowhere aggressiveness. At one point, we do hear the voice of writer John Lutz telling him to calm down.
I don't calm down, you calm down! I'm the rocket!
This isn't helping.
You're not helping! I am mad all the time!
The end.
You gotta love slightly old-timey Bill characters. I just like this look here, his voice. We played a really good counterpoint to Jason's Clemens. Jason goes aggro. It's always fun. And Bill, something about him with that lighter hair. Yeah, I know I'm going on and on about Bill's looks this episode, but there's so many episodes that he's in, he looks damn fine.
Next is another one that's kind of weird to talk about in more of an interesting train wrecky sort of way. Tukey Style Show. So it's like an infomercial where Keenan plays Manhattan cable access personality who had an interview show from 1978 to 1982, advertising a DVD of the best of the Tukey Style Show. These include moments where Tukey Styles interviews guests such as the Egyptian defense minister Ahmad Badawi, played by Fred Armisen, Israel's head of Mossad, Yitzhak Hoffi, played by Bill Hader, and possibly a made-up character played by Amy Adams named Elizabeth Kent, an Ulster Unionist and sworn enemy of the IRA. She doesn't want Ireland or England or wherever she's representing to secede from the union that's oppressing them. Each clip is Tukey Styles trying to teach these guests his signature Zuki Styles dance. It's like the robot, but with a little rapping.
Zip-zop, Zuki! Zip-zop, Zuki! I saw a goat that was downright spooky! Come on now, man, do it with me now!
So he teaches them this dance. Suddenly, gunshots ring out, and Annie and Jason, as two Secret Service men, just have to rush them out of there. Each time it cuts back to the commercial, Keenan looks more terrified. Part of it was filmed at dress rehearsal, so maybe this was meant to be cut. Maybe the show was running long, so they had to sub this in for something that was too long, that had to be cut. My question is, what exactly was this? Was this based on a real local access TV incident? Was it just an actual fever dream that one of the writers put into the script? I mean, I didn't hate it, but it was just one of the most senseless and bizarre sketches that I've ever seen. Really defies any other type of description, but everyone performed all their parts the way you'd expect them to. Amy Adams seemed to be the only one really having fun with her part, because she gets to leave without getting shot, but then she comes back because she forgot her purse. Everyone's just shot and rushed off, and that's the end of the sketch. Deej, do you have anything that could possibly help us make sense of this?
I don't know about making sense, but I did consult my local Google, and Tukey Styles is not a person. I kind of found this character very similar to the other guy who really cheap Halloween costumes with various stains and rips. Same thing with the wedding dresses, so very similar kind of character to that. The running joke throughout it was every scene ended up with gunfire, although the one with Amy Adams' character was a little bit delayed. The way that Bill was reminded of the character who played in the Sofa King sketch. Bill seemed to be having a good time with it.
Super Soccer Suki, Super Soccer Suki, Super Soccer Suki Zoo.
You got it. Now you're doing the Zuki style.
Oh, Suki, this is so much fun. Thank you for having me on your show.
I'm so Zuki, man. Well, that's all the time we have for our show tonight.
It's not exactly what you call great.
And now the actual final sketch of the Amy Adams episode. It's called Celebrations. This one's a bit more for the ladies because it was more of a unique, lower-key, female-focused sketch of this era that didn't feel mean. It felt more like a interesting character study, like almost a slice of life, but not quite. But it was a great showcase for Casey Wilson and Amy Poehler. Though Amy Adams had some funny lines about suddenly just admitting things aren't going so great for her. She's living in her car. She still has big hair like she did in 8th grade because she has to, because she has big features. Basically, both the Amys and Casey Wilson and Kristen Wiig play 4 sad, desperate, attention-seeking middle-aged ladies, which I'm only saying because one of them says, oh, their nephew told them about this place. Bill's a bartender. Jason is a patron. The only other man who even walks by them voluntarily, and then goes back to his 2 buddies at the table, Forte and Keenan. The hook of this sketch is these 4 women are trying to impress the bartender and the only other guys in the bar with this old dance routine from an 8th grade talent show that they suddenly remembered and totally haven't rehearsed since. I got a kick out of all the women trying to do the exact same moves to different songs at constantly changing speeds and tempos, from Rihanna's Umbrella to REM's It's the End of the World as We Know It, Peaches and Herbs Reunited, to even the classic Nokia ringtone that goes da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So they keep getting tighter and faster each time, except for Peaches and Herb, where they have to do slower. Bill was just the straight man here, but he was a great unimpressed bartender.
Hey, so, you guys done that before?
Well, we break it out every once in a while.
The guys kind of love the mood.
Big time. Yeah, our social calendar can attest to that.
So I guess you guys get a lot of dates?
No.
Jason took a call from his wife, and Keenan and Forte said, we're going with him. They left, and Bill rushed over to hand them all their purses once even hinted that they were leaving.
He's trying to be nice. As a middle-aged woman myself, going back to the one really awesome thing you did in high school and just milking the heck out of it, the fact that they're able to do the same dance to the variance of the tempos, and it actually made sense, with the exception of the Nokia ringtone. And speaking of which, the Nokia ringtone, composer of the song is Francisco Tarrega. The song is Grand Vowels, and the particular performance that they're using it from, or sort of varying from, is by Czech guitarist Lubomir Brayback. It was used as background music in a commercial for the Nokia 1011. Later on, it became known as one of the most recognizable ringtones. It's kind of a precursor to what I think worked better was the Cougar Den, because that one was definitely very much, more ways than one, broad comedy. But the dance was cute.
That's all of Bill's moments in this 2-episode stretch, and one thing you should probably keep in mind as well is that these 2 episodes and Tina Fey's first hosting stint that preceded them, and the following episode hosted by Jonah Hill, which we'll cover next month, these were part of a 4-episode straight run. This is the first time that SNL had done such a thing since middle of their first season in 1976. And even back then, there wasn't enough cocaine in the world to get them through that one without totally burning themselves out. They did it twice in 2008, once here and once to start off season 34 in the fall, due to wanting to make up for lost time during the writer's strike and also wanting to get in as much election material as they could. And normally they wouldn't do more than 3 episodes back to back. And even sometimes during those, you can get kind of a weaker episode where you feel some burnout. And they wouldn't really do this again until 2016 to kick off the big fall election. And in 2020, they would kick off season 46 with 6 episodes in a row because of that election and because of COVID. That broke a record. You know, an odd time when they were really going hard and burning the candle at both ends, and something they would try not to do again. If they do that and you feel a palpable burnout in the second of 4 episodes, something may seem a little odd, but again, this is something they haven't necessarily tried in a long time.
And thus ends the Bill portion of the program. I'm going to go over some bits and bobs of the non-Bill stuff, as will Casey, and then we'll wrap it up. A couple things I did actually like from the Elliot Page episode. Their monologue, Andy as Diablo Cody. Anyone who's familiar with Juno, that they had a very particular way of speaking, which was also featured not only in the grandkids in the movies, and then later on in I Drink Your Milkshake sketch, the guest for the following week, played by Tina Fey. There's a little bit in the Dakota Fanning show, which she's talking about the new writing staff, where one of them is Bruce Valanche, played by Jason Sudeikis. Very brief kind of non-verbal appearance, but yeah, he captured the spirit of Bruce Valanche. For those who don't know, he's a comedy writer, writes for a lot of reward shows. He has a great book on all the weird shows that he worked on in the 70s and the 80s. For instance, he was a writer on the Brady Bunch Variety Hour. That is a definite worth a listen and read. The one sketch I really enjoyed, The Other Bowling Girls. This was with Jason as King Henry. Oh, it was Anne Boleyn, Casey Wilson as Mary Boleyn. I am a big fan of the musical Six. If you're not familiar, it is all about the 6 wives of Henry VIII, which has another SNL connection. Toby Marlowe, who is one of the co-writers is the brother of Annabelle Marlowe from SNL UK. Great performance by our narrator, Steve Higgins. He really has the best lines in this. So start off with Elliot Page as Anne Boleyn and Casey as the other Boleyn. Then we go to Christian as a slightly Judise-coded brother and sister. Then another one played by Will Forte, who apparently had fallen asleep in a pile of fish, and ending with Keenan. And he was okay with the first 2, because as I say in the narration,
1 king, 3 sisters, 2 decent options. But no one could have predicted what would happen next.
The first 2 were worried about the 3rd and 4th Boleyn's being an issue.
How dare you try to steal the king with your feminine wiles?
Now, honestly, don't worry about it. Non-issue.
And just when you thought there couldn't be any more Boleyn sisters, there totally were.
End of Keenan, which is when he really loses school.
No, you shut up! All right, there's no way you're a woman!
And when I'm done with you, there's no way you'll care.
Similar to you're watching C-SPAN, the final line of this is,
The Other Boleyn Girls. It's a movie?
Over on the Amy Adams episode, I did enjoy the couples therapy sketch, with poor Will Forte's guy being totally oblivious as to why obvious Russian mail-order bride was with him.
Okay, Bogdana, is it the documents you want him to pay attention to, or is it your feelings?
Documents. You signed documents today. I gave the sex.
The Elliot Page episode opened with another Democratic candidates debate, and I'll just say about this that I did like Will Forte doing a dead-on sounding Brian Williams, which he apparently stumbled ass backwards into at one point when trying to find a different voice for another character. Daryl Hammond's Tim Russert can be one of his fun impressions, although I have to ask, why does Daryl appear to have eye makeup on this sketch. Fred's still working out the kinks with his Obama. Sounds a little cartoony, but he's not totally the main focus. And the main focus is Amy as Hillary, and they're grilling her to the point that Vincent D'Onofrio shows up to play his character from Law and Order: Criminal Intent. And she has a pretty good speech about she's the only candidate who is annoyingly pushy and irritating enough to nag big energy lobbyists into submission. And I think this may contain a reference to the previous debate sketch the real Hillary made in the actual debate that this was spoofing, when she says something about how she's getting the tougher questions with a more hostile tone. I remember hearing a quote from Hillary in the real debate. Maybe we should go back to Saturday Night Live and ask Obama if he wants another pillow. And also the real Hillary does make a cameo, which was her first of, I believe, 2 cameos as herself in her entire political career. Wasn't up to much. It was a little bit forgettable. She came across fairly well for, another politician coming on the show to up their cool or hip factor. She was a great sport in response to Amy's impression of her. That was nice to see here, because when you think about it, the next time Hillary would run for president, that would become a major issue in ways we won't get into. But, it's a little bit better than the last debate sketch, the Nightmare digital short with Elliot Page. It was an interesting one because it's like the first ever cinematic digital short, and probably the second big meme one after Dear Sister. And I say this because it's just a series of like stylized Japanese horror film type shots in which Ellie just keeps waking up and going to the bathroom, looking in the mirror. And Andy is this wounded zombie-like creature who keeps appearing, but not when she looks behind her. A very early, more mature, subtle version of that type of digital short where just Annie plays the same character with one quirk who just shows up in different places. It's like a minimalist version of that. A rare moment that The Lonely Island didn't go for big laughs, but it was still early on in their run, so they weren't completely gassed out on these types of ideas. And they felt they had the room to experiment and try out new things. Plus, Andy and Elliot had the chemistry to pull this off, along with another sketch. And so did Kristen and Jason, with the part where Dracula and Debbie Lieberstein are speaking to each other.
A series of escalating jump scares, with Andy being his wonderfully goofy self.
Okay, and the last sketch in the Elliot Page episode, Elliot plays a girl named Marty, who comes home to her boyfriend, played by Andy Samberg, and just raving about her experience at a Melissa Etheridge concert in great detail. And it's interesting because this felt like something Marilyn Suzanne Miller could have written. It's a very quiet slice of life, not going for hard laughs and exploring delicate subject matter regarding coming to terms with one's own sexuality, which was, I think, was based on some real speculation on Elliot's sexuality in real life at this time. But it was handled as delicately as it should have been. It didn't go for any cheap gay jokes. I think it might still hold up today if it weren't for one thing. At the end, Andy says if Elliot comes out as a lesbian, he says he'll go gay too so they can live together. Elliot says, you don't have to do that, just for me. And Andy says, I know, but I still want to, which I think people would say you can't just go gay or turn your sexuality on and off like a switch. You are who you are. Andy and Elliot's chemistry makes this work, and it's just a very rare type of sketch you don't see much of on SNL past like 1989 or so. And I think it mostly plays well.
Yeah, I do believe it does. It does play very well. Again, we're dealing with a particular time period where the perception of trans people going from the tranny bit to the transsexuals, we can definitely see throughout other episodes as we keep going, sort of an evolution of the terminology used for particular sexual orientations.
The last piece from Elliot Page's episode is probably the thing I have the most to say on that one. I do want to talk a bit about the Obama files, because mostly it's the last regular TV funhouse before Robert Smigel came back a few years later for the live action Ambiguously a Duo. This was more of an Irish goodbye. And the one thing this had going against it wasn't so much that it was political, but it was just felt a little longer than it needed to be. The Obama files, Obama voiced by Hassani Issa, whose Obama impression makes you think, well, why didn't he audition to join the cast? Daryl Hammond voicing Jesse Jackson and Robert Smigel voicing Al Sharpton. And the idea is Obama wants to keep Jesse and Reverend Sharpton as far away from his campaign as possible. Obama sees Jesse Jackson approaching him, and he tells Michelle to distract the media, so she just vomits on the floor, which was a very odd moment, which I think Robert Smigel just threw in for a cheap, gross-out gag laugh to just keep the audience engaged for a bit, because this is kind of a dry piece of political humor, but the idea is Obama meeting Jesse Jackson in a closet saying, I need you to fly to Lower Zambuta, this African nation that doesn't exist, and brief me on the conditions there. So he's just sending them on wild goose chases, and he sees Al Sharpton approach while he's being interviewed by Brian Williams. So he shoots Brian Williams in the neck with a tranquilizer dart and tells Al Sharpton, I think Smigel's impression of Sharpton was a highlight of this, to Sharpton says, I want to be at your next speech. Obama says, okay, well, you need to wear this honorary dog collar so people know you're a crucial part of the campaign. But it's a shock collar, and every time he tries to come near the arena where Obama's speech is, he gets electrocuted repeatedly. And then both Jesse and Al realize we've been bamboozled, so we're going to drop into his next speech via plane, and we'll be dressed as podiums, even though Sharpton wants to wear a lion costume because lions are cool. But Obama's prepared. He has a trap door handle at the ready, so they fall through the trap door into a van that also has Chuck Norris and Bill Clinton in the van. Isn't Chuck Norris a Republican? Why would he be campaigning for Obama? But anyway, in fact, I think Chuck Norris may have been campaigning for Mike Huckabee at the time. But anyway, they're in a van, and Bill Clinton wants to go to Cancun. And the two reverends, retired from politics, sold this story to the Wayans brothers, and they made a movie called Podiums, and they retired as millionaires from their royalties from this. Perhaps the actual funniest part of this was Smigel's anecdote that Lorne asked Hillary to stay an extra 20 minutes when she cameoed in this episode just to see this cartoon. He was thankful that Amy walked in to say goodbye and partially distract her, because Lawrence says he forgot about the Bill joke, but Hillary saw it and was polite enough to laugh.
Chuck Norris started off as a Democrat, but as he felt that the Democrats were moving too far left, he became a Republican.
Oh, that happens a lot nowadays. So, anyway, just a couple of sketches from Amy Adams' episode that I want to talk about, which, obviously Amy Adams' episode was better than Elliot Page's, but kind of dragged down by some of the reoccurring material. The cold open to Amy Adams had a parody of a notable political ad that premiered at this time. It was from Hillary's campaign. It said, it's 3 a.m., you and your kids are sound asleep, but there's a phone ringing in the White House, in the Oval Office. Who do you want answering that phone? Someone with experience who's been around the White House, knows the military, knows world leaders? Well, I'm Hillary Clinton, and I approve this message. Amy Poehler as Hillary Clinton presents an unfair and deceptive message, which she approves, but the twist is there's a phone call coming out of the White House at 3 a.m. It's Fred Armisen as Barack Obama calling Hillary to ask for advice on how to deal with the situation where Iran's building a nuclear bomb, and the heat's off in the White House, and it's presented as basically a slideshow. It's a pre-tape, just black and white images back and forth. And I think this is where Fred's Obama works, because I see it as this thing of like, well, if this were like a really underhanded campaign ad Hillary would produce, and she wanted to be that devious about it and go after Obama, this is probably how she would make Obama look really bad. But really, this could work with anyone as Obama. And the eerie thing about it is, at one point, Amy as Hillary just tells Fred's Obama to call his Secretary of State, who says, well, Al Sharpton's my Secretary of State, and he wasn't my best appointment. And the reason that's eerie is because, like, roughly a year later, he would become president, and he would make Hillary Clinton his Secretary of Staff for his first term. So they did work out an arrangement where Obama would actually consult Hillary on these matters. But then again, this aged in a weird way too, because we would find out the hard way that having our president be on their phone at 3 a.m. wouldn't necessarily be a good thing, but that's a story for another time. Lastly, I'll just say I like the Hero song, digital short. Andy Samberg is like a Bruce Wayne type singing of the despair and frustration over the growing crime rate in his city. And the song has more of this hip-hop trap beat, like a One Republic meets Tears for Fears type sound that I didn't remember the first time. I liked Andy singing about how he can't take another murder, and he reacts in frustration to a newspaper with a headline, 50 more murders. So, like, he dresses up in a cheap superhero suit, Batman and Robin, Joel Schumacher era Robin. He comes upon Jason Sudeikis as a mugger trying to take Amy Adams' purse, and says, he sings, now it's time to meet your maker, but he just gets punched in the face repeatedly until he spits blood, gets hit with a 2x4, and has a mailbox thrown on him. So he's just beaten unconscious repeatedly until it's not funny and loops back around to being funny. And this is just enough to distract the mugger that Amy Adams thanks him for just letting her walk away with her own purse. And that's it. I just liked how the melodrama of that just built up to the sheer bluntness of Andy's vigilante superhero just thoroughly having the shit beaten out of him by Jason as a mugger.
We do hope you liked this double pack of episodes. SNL is now finished for the season, so we're going to be doing alternating weeks with Saturday Night Ladies, probably coming out Thursdays then. It gives me a bit of an editing break throughout the summer, which I personally love.
Next episode of We Heart Hater coming out 2 weeks from now. We're going to start covering season 2, the second season premiere, The Bunker, which is a parody of the 1992 documentary The War Room, about how James Carville and George Stephanopoulos ran Bill Clinton's 1992 campaign. We're going to include a little bit of bonus content. Documentary now short Bill and Fred made for David Letterman's Mark Twain Prize ceremony at the Kennedy Center. It's called David Letterman Beginnings, where they just played two old friends at Dave's from Indiana, just talk about what he was like. And I just thought this will be a good time to cover that, seeing as The Late Show just ended. Was a franchise that Dave Letterman started, but he retired and Stephen Colbert finished it out.
Thank you for joining us once again. We hope you enjoy things. So I am Deej Barons and will continue to be.
And I will still be Casey Killingsworth until I am informed otherwise.
As we always say, because he's awesome, he's talented, he's handsome. We Heart Hater.
We Heart Hater. It's what we do.
Thank you for listening to We Heart Hater. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe and leave a rating and review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. We Heart Hater is a presentation of Wacky Notion Productions. Created by Deeds Barons. Hosted by Deeds Barons and Casey Killingsworth. Recording and editing by Deeds Barons. Intro and outro music by Music Unlimited, used under Creative Commons license, courtesy of pixabay.com.